The text message came at 6:03 p.m. Come on, Jake. One dinner. You've been single for 3 years. You need to live again. Jake Morgan sighed, staring at the screen as his best friend, Sam, sent another message filled with winking emojis and a restaurant location. A blind date. Again. Sam had tried this before, with disastrous results. But tonight, Sam had been unusually insistent, even offering to babysit Jake's 7-year-old daughter, Lily. That alone was suspicious. Fine, Jake muttered. One dinner. He didn't know that this dinner would change his life forever. Jake arrived at the elegant rooftop restaurant dressed in his only suit, the one he wore for job interviews and Lily's school recitals. He still couldn't believe he'd agreed to this. 3 years since his wife passed in a car accident, and he still carried the guilt like a second skin. Love felt impossible. As he walked in, he scanned the tables nervously until a waiter gestured toward the corner. There, near the window overlooking the city lights, sat a woman in a sleek navy dress, beautiful, poised, and sitting in a wheelchair. Jake froze. She looked up and smiled warmly. Jake, yes, he said hesitantly, stepping forward. I'm Emma. Her voice was calm, confident. Please, sit. He did, fumbling with the chair. The air felt thick with awkwardness. I'm so sorry, he blurted out. I didn't know that I'm in a wheelchair. She interrupted gently, her smile never faltering. Most people don't. Jake's cheeks burned. No, I mean, yes, but I didn't expect. Sam didn't tell me anything about you. Emma chuckled softly. He told me the same about you. Apparently, he wanted us both surprised. Jake exhaled, embarrassed and curious all at once. As dinner began, conversation flowed slowly at first, then easier with time. Emma was witty, sharp, and somehow made Jake forget how long it had been since he'd laughed. She talked about art, travel, and life after accidents, without a trace of self-pity. I wasn't always in this chair, she said casually. A car crash, 3 years ago. I lost the ability to walk, but not the will to move forward. Jake swallowed hard. 3 years. The same time his wife died. The coincidence stung. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Don't be, Emma replied. I learned that life doesn't wait for us to feel ready. We either live despite the pain, or we let the pain live for us. Her words hit him like a revelation. For the first time, Jake saw not the wheelchair, but the fire in her eyes, the strength that mirrored his own struggle to raise Lily and keep hope alive. They talked for hours, until the restaurant lights dimmed and the city outside turned silver beneath the moonlight. When they finally said goodnight, Jake found himself smiling for the first time in months. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Emma met often, coffee on Sunday mornings, walks by the river where she maneuvered her sleek electric wheelchair beside him, and laughter-filled evenings at his small apartment with Lily, who adored her instantly. Daddy, Lily whispered one night, Miss Emma's like sunshine. But in a chair, Jake smiled. Yeah, sweetheart, she really is. Emma never told him much about her job. She brushed it off with vague hints, just business stuff. Jake assumed she was some kind of consultant or small business owner. He didn't ask. He didn't care. What mattered was the way she made him feel alive again. Still, the whispers of doubt lingered. He worried she might think less of him, a construction worker, struggling to pay bills, raising a daughter alone. She lived in a penthouse, he noticed once, when he dropped her off after dinner. But she brushed it off when he asked, saying only, it's complicated. The truth came crashing one Friday afternoon. Jake's company had been struggling to win a contract for a major downtown renovation, a chance that could secure his team's future. He and his boss were invited to a meeting with the company funding the project, Evermont Industries, a billion-dollar firm. Jake straightened his tie nervously as he entered the massive conference room. Then he froze. At the head of the table sat Emma. Her hair was pinned neatly, her suit sharp and commanding. The woman he'd shared laughter and coffee with was now the one holding his career in her hands. Good afternoon, she said professionally, her expression unreadable. Please, have a seat. Jake felt his stomach twist. The room spun. She was the CEO. The CEO of Evermont Industries. After the meeting, where Emma remained formal and distant, Jake barely made it to the parking lot before she wheeled up beside him. "Jake, wait," he turned, anger and confusion swirling. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie," she said softly. "I just didn't tell you everything." He ran a hand through his hair. "You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. You live in a penthouse. You've been sitting across from me, letting me think we were equals." "Because we are," she interrupted, her eyes fierce now. "Money doesn't make me more. My wheelchair doesn't make me less. I wanted someone to see me, not my title." Jake looked away, torn between pride and admiration. "You should have trusted me with the truth." "I was scared," she whispered. "Not of you, of losing the first person who treated me like a woman, not a project." Her voice broke, and for a moment, all the walls between them shattered. But Jake's hurt ran deep. "I need time," he said, walking away. Weeks passed. The distance between them grew unbearable. Jake poured himself into work, while Emma hid behind boardroom doors. Both missed the laughter, the quiet understanding, the healing they'd found together. Then one rainy evening, Jake's phone buzzed. It was Lily's school number. "Mr. Morgan," the principal said urgently. "Lily had an asthma attack during play practice. She's stable, but she's asking for someone named Emma." Jake's heart clenched. He raced to the hospital. When he arrived, Emma was already there, drenched from the rain, hair plastered to her face, her wheelchair parked beside Lily's bed. She held Lily's hand and hummed softly, just as Jake used to do for his wife. Jake stopped in the doorway, emotions flooding him, love, guilt, awe. "She's okay," Emma said gently when she saw him. "The doctors said she'll be fine." Jake nodded, voice breaking. "Thank you for being here." "I'll always be here," Emma whispered. "For both of you." He looked at her then, not as the CEO, not as the woman in a wheelchair, but as the person who'd walked with him through pain, who'd given him back his heart. "I was a fool," he said quietly. "You never needed to prove anything. You're the strongest person I know." Emma smiled through tears. "And you're the bravest." He knelt beside her, taking her hand. "Can we start over?" She nodded. "Only if it's not a blind date this time." They laughed, the sound soft and full of healing. Their relationship grew stronger after that. The world, of course, had opinions. Reporters whispered about the CEO dating a construction worker. Investors raised eyebrows, but Emma never flinched. She made it clear, Jake wasn't her charity project, he was her partner. Jake faced challenges, too. People pitied him, mocked him, said he was only with her for her money. But those who knew him understood better. He worked harder than ever, building not just homes, but a life where his daughter could thrive. Still, not everything was easy. Emma's paralysis brought daily struggles, stairs that couldn't be climbed, boardrooms that weren't designed for wheels, and nights when she wept quietly, angry at her body's limitations. Jake never pitied her. Instead, he stood beside her, helping when needed, stepping back when she wanted to fight alone. And when Jake faced his own battles, financial stress, late nights at work, fear of not being enough, Emma was there, reminding him that worth isn't measured in wealth but in resilience. Together, they learned what love really meant, not saving each other, but walking, or rolling, side by side through every storm. A year later, on a bright spring morning, Jake stood nervously in a small park he and Lily had helped restore. The project had been funded by Evermont Industries, but it was Jake's design, his vision, to create spaces where families, regardless of ability, could play together. When the ribbon was cut, Emma wheeled forward to join him, beaming. The crowd clapped, cameras flashed, and Lily ran to her side, placing a daisy crown on Emma's head. Jake took the microphone, voice trembling. "Most people see a wheelchair and think limitation," he said, glancing at Emma. "But this woman taught me that strength isn't about standing tall, it's about rising every time life knocks you down." He turned to her, kneeling. "Emma Grace, will you marry me?" The crowd gasped, Lily squealed, and Emma's eyes filled with tears. She smiled through them, whispering, "Yes." They married in a small ceremony by the river where they'd shared their first long conversation. Lily walked down the aisle scattering petals, and as Jake and Emma exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in sight. Their life together wasn't perfect. There were struggles, hospital visits, demanding business trips, construction delays, but there was also laughter, courage, and an unshakable bond built on truth. Emma continued running her company, but she also founded a foundation for accessible design. Jake's business thrived, focusing on inclusive spaces. Together, they changed lives, one building and one heart at a time. And on quiet nights, when the world felt still, they'd sit on their balcony, Emma's hand in Jake's, Lily asleep inside, and talk about how a blind date, born from a trick, had given them everything they never knew they needed. Final message: life has a way of disguising blessings as challenges. What begins as a trick of fate can become the truest gift, if we dare to see beyond appearances, beyond fear, and beyond what we think love should look like. Because sometimes, the person who teaches us how to stand again is the one who can't walk, but chooses, every day, to rise.